we've been taught words and we put up a barrier with words. And it's like if you hear a new word, it's a big word. Well, it's just a new word. And that's the thing about hypnosis. It's new for the person that's trying to do it or the person that wants to.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick. I am so happy that you've decided to join us today. If this is your first time here, you're in for a treat. And for anybody who's been supporting the show for any length of time, you know what you're in for. So thank you very much for all of your support over the years. In fact, we've just cracked the big 400 mark, 400 episodes and going strong, and the feedback has just been wonderful. You know, knowing that the show is making a difference makes all the difference to me. So thank you very much for that support. Now, on today's show, I'm with the wonderful Robert A. Wilson. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Well, thank you. It's my honor and privilege to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to talking with you about Cowboy Wisdom. Now, just for everybody's context, Robert is an inspirational speaker. He's a hypnoacuitist. I hope I said that right. He's a dream sculptor and published author at Cowboy Wisdom. And we're going to be talking about his latest book, My Wisdom Breathes, and how to open our eyes to wisdom, inspiration and imagination. But before we do any of that, Robert, we like to take a few moments to learn a little bit about you. So where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling in from Mesa, Arizona.
Has that been home forever, or is that somewhere you've moved to?
Oh, for about a year. I grew up in South Dakota and Wyoming and Washington State and Oregon. And I moved down here a year ago to go to hypnotherapy school. And I finished that in November, but I really discovered, Rick, I didn't understand enough about discharging the reactionary emotions, and that's where we really got to begin, is in the body and with reactionary emotions.
Okay, well, we'll do that shortly, but you touched on moving to Arizona. Having gone through there a couple of times myself, I know that it's hot. What made you decide to move there? Is it just for the training, or do you like the environment?
I like the heat. My body, I lived in enough of that 30 below wind chill weather.
Now, Robert, tell us a little bit about, you touched on growing up. What was life growing up like for you?
Well, I grew up on a farm cattle operation in South Dakota with my uncle and my cousin. And then about 1997, I moved to the oil fields of Gillette, Wyoming. And then the oil field, died in 1983, so I went to electrical school in 85, and I've become an electrician. But in 1997, I was working in Portland, Oregon, and my life was going nowhere. And I got into a home-based business that pushed personal growth, and I really took to it. And I really started understanding that was my path forward. So in 97, I started that, and then I just kept working as an electrician. In 2000, I wrote a book, and in 2001, I went to coaching school, but nothing ever got me going on the right path. I do all the stuff the book says, but it never expanded me out of it.
You know what? Can I jump in? I just want to touch on your experience working on the farm, because I think it's great for context, because I know that you are no stranger to hard work. What is the value of hard work, do you think, in terms of you becoming an entrepreneur and an author?
Well, you got to have that self-discipline to get the job done, and that's kind of what the farming, and the farming really gives you an all-around education on how to handle things. You're working with livestock one day, you're planting corn the next day, but you're working around livestock. It really opens you up to understand things, because we had 1,200 head of hogs and 750 head of cows. Every one of them had a mind of their own. But you had to understand how to be with them and to move them around, because you couldn't force them. They did what they wanted.
They did what they wanted to do. Yeah, look, having grown up on a farm myself, and my first experience dipping sheep was me being pushed into it by my uncles. Bless their souls. Now I know full well that you're up at the crack of dawn, actually before the crack of dawn. What does a day look like for you since that time? Very much an early riser still?
Oh yeah, I love sunrise.
Yep.
Even in the summer, I love sunrise. And since I moved to Arizona, I like sunrise, walking in the desert at sunrise.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I like sunrise, sunset, and the rest of the time,
Are
it doesn't
you
really
given
matter.
given that you've been around livestock? Did you ever have an affinity for a pet? Like dogs were my thing.
Dogs.
Yeah, because they can
Dogs
herd.
and horses. I loved horses and
Yeah,
dogs.
tell us a little bit about your experience with horses.
Well, I learned actually how to rope, and I did ride in high school. I rode rodeo, and then I learned to rope after high school. That is the most fun you can have is roping. It's kind of like it's a country boy's addiction to fun.
Absolutely, and it is certainly a lot of fun. I wonder, given that you're a country boy, do you like country music?
Yes, very much so.
Fantastic. And so, what do you do when you're in your downtime? Do you just enjoy, like, being by yourself, or do you go out and mingle? What do you do?
Go out and mingle a little bit, go to meetups, and I do a lot of writing. I love to write because it's just liberating for me. And I like going out to the desert and just walk and being out there with the serenity of the desert and the mystique of the desert.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some definitely mystique about it. I wonder, when you were growing up, we all have people around us in our lives that help us to become who we are, or at least we take inspiration from them. Did you have anybody like that in your life?
Yes, my uncle, my dad, my mom, my cousin, and and my older brother. They were all there. And then there's just a lot of people throughout, but my uncle and my dad were probably the most two influential people in my life.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, you're probably very busy, and I know that this is a question I ask everybody because I know how important it is for me. Do you value time away from work? Do you value downtime?
Yes, more than ever. You gotta go down, you gotta have downtime to intertwine the good times in the down with the downtime. Silence speaks the wisdom of life.
Hmm, absolutely. And that's the thing. We're bombarded by noise, aren't we? Marketing noise, media noise. There's all this stuff going on in the world, and the energy seems to be shifting at the moment. I guess there's two-part question. Would you agree with that the energy is shifting? And how do you reset and just relax a bit? What's your process?
Mine is just going out, but I got so I can meditate, but
Mm.
mine's just going out and just being around people. I can relax. And something I've done is I have shut the noise off because the noise on the internet and stuff like that, if it doesn't expand me, there's no use of hearing it.
No use to hearing it. Now, I used to sell, from a lemonade stand. I used to wash cars when I was a kid. What was your first experience as an entrepreneur, Robert?
Mine was a home-based business in 1997.
Mm.
I got into that, and even though the business didn't do well, it opened all this up, and it was that. And I think it just bit me, the entrepreneurial bug, because I haven't been able to slow down since. But it's been a real life expanding experience because you get to go out into the world, and you're not doing it for everybody, but you're actually doing it with everybody, and it is to expand people. But it expands yourself because you get to run up against yourself and other people, and you got to see whatever you don't like in somebody's me and what I like in people's me. So I get to do that, and I get to hear some interesting things. But the most fun is talking to some of the old ranchers. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
talking to ranchers that are 75, 80 years old, and hearing their old stories. That's just a blast to me.
You know what? And that's quite relevant given the topic of today. We talk about wisdom. You can't buy it, can you?
No, wisdom is something you expand of.
Now, I know, Robert, that you've had to take a chance. You've exposed yourself to the risk of failure, as you have the risk of success. How did you feel about taking a chance on yourself? When you started your business.
That's a very interesting question because when I first started, I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. The world's going to love me. And then you come up against all the things that you thought was out there, but it wasn't. And you get to really, you really got to go through the failure to go to the success. And it really isn't failure unless you quit. All you're really coming up against is what you never understood to expand your life.
You must have a lot of time for reflection. I wonder, do you find it important to reflect and, take stock of your days?
Every day.
Every day? Yeah.
Not even at the end of the day, sometimes throughout the day. If you're not paying attention to the inner self, you're going to have a runaway, because the inner self is going to show you and express to you every place you're going in life. And that is where you really expand through the life. Rather than try to change your life, you expand your life, you let go of all the challenges. You start becoming inquisitive about your life. And that's what really happened. After I started understanding entrepreneurship, Rick, I become curious and inquisitive about life.
That inquisitive, curious nature, you must have an abundance mentality, and you must have a streaming source of new ideas. Where do you get your new ideas from, do you think?
It's natural, Rick, because I write a keynote every day, but today's keynote, I just come up, we look at all the chaos in the world as something challenging, but today I understand chaos is the key to expand me out of yesterday, because it features my old ways if I'm listening to the new ways. But I come up with, there's darkness of yesterday, and there's a sunrise and a dreamer's sunrise, and you're always in the dreamer's sunrise when you stop letting chaos boss your life.
That's great feedback, very sage advice. Now, I think about the compound effect. We sometimes think about the compound effect as it applies to money, but I'm thinking about the compound effect as it applies to our own inner growth. Tell us a little bit about, the compound effect as it applies to being in that dreamer state all the time. Do you just naturally grow?
Yeah, you're going to grow personally before you grow financially. I heard that the first time, Rick, and I said, yeah, right, I'm going to grow financially, and then I'll worry about it. Well, I got showed you will grow personally. And it's your imagination that's going to lead you to where you want to go. But we try to know our way, Rick, and what I really discovered is I'm only going to think and know my way to yesterday. My imagination, wisdom, and talent is going to walk me into the promised land.
Do you, I value ongoing education. Do you still find yourself hungry for new information, new ideas, and how best do you educate yourself? Are you into books, audio books, or seminars? What do you like doing?
Audio books, I run the gamut of them. Whatever I can, when I really understand, I listen for wisdom to expand me. And the thing about wisdom, Rick, it comes in one or two words, or even a sign. There's a word in something. But you're going to hear a word or see something every day in your life that's going to open new wisdom for you to expand. And I use the word wisdom rather than know, because it brings your mind into it. But wisdom keeps the curiosity moving.
Yeah, great feedback. Loving this conversation, Robert. Now, I wonder if we could talk a little bit about, I've checked out your website. It's great content on there, and I'm wondering if you could share your educational background with us.
Well, I've been to hypnotherapy school. I've been ongoing between NLP and hypnotherapy since 2006. But CDs, audios, seminars, I'm always listening to expand. And I went to hypnotherapy school in 2006, 2007, and NLP school, but I just went through 350 hours of hypnotherapy school and NLP here in Phoenix. But what I'm understanding is I'm going through something to do with the chakras, because the chakras have energy. And the more I discover, Rick, the more inquisitive I have to be. And the education is ongoing because I listen to audios all the time. And I'm only where I'm at for a second, because it's new the next second, and there's new wisdom to be listened to and heard. Because, Rick, I understand this. I'm going to listen my way to the penthouse. I'm going to talk and know my way to the outhouse.
No, I love it. I know that you're a Reiki master, having spent many years practicing myself. I absolutely love the art, and I think, Shokugure and all these wonderful mantras and symbolism that you use. Do you think there's a spot in it with your work?
Oh, Reiki, yeah.
Mm.
When I went to hypnotherapy school in Sedona, we did a Reiki hypnosis, and you make
Remote or
a,
local?
huh?
Remote or local? Like, were you
Well, we
sending?
did it first. We learned
Yep.
how to do it. We did it to each other as
Fantastic.
classmates. And, you know, Rick, if I could have stayed in that Reiki hypnosis the rest of my life, I'd stay there. It's the most relaxed. And everybody's scared of hypnosis, but really, hypnosis is a relaxed awareness. You're more in tune with yourself and all your surroundings because you're uninhibited. And that's the thing. Everybody says, oh, hypnosis, that's this. Well, that's stage hypnosis. Regular hypnosis allows you to go in and communicate between your subconscious, unconscious, and your body. And that is where the life liberation begins.
Now, I recently went to one of our local area's best hypnotherapists, and I spent quite a bit of money. And I thought, I know this is not about the money, but I wonder because I'd never been exposed to it myself. And one of the things he focused on was a previous injury where I lost a thumb, and it was quite traumatic. And it was always something that would come up in conversation. Since about 3 or 4 sessions, I no longer could actually see the event as I saw it in the past. Can you explain why this is happening? Because I, to this day, don't understand why it's come out that way. I'm no longer fearful of machines that can hurt me, and it's effectively healed me. Would you agree with that?
Very much so, because what you done is you went in and got to that imprint, that representation of the machines.
Yep.
You discharged them and released them and disconnected from that event. And that's what hypnosis does. And that's something else I'll really share with people is the word discharge over the word release. Because when you use the word discharge and release, you feel it leave your body. And you feel it leave you. And what hypnosis did is it went in there and took out, there's layers in there where we hide behind. And that was your safety mechanism at the time. And that kept you safe from the machines. But now you found out, now you discovered in yourself, the machines no longer are the threat to you.
You know, you hear the term woo-woo, and that's what I was thinking of. But I was open-minded enough to actually go through it, and I'm very glad that I did. Do you find that you have people going through that similar transformation when they work with you?
Yeah. Everybody thinks hypnosis is woo-woo because they think it's stage hypnosis. They remember, and what people don't realize is all it is a relaxation within themselves and allows themselves to let go. And hypnosis ain't woo-woo, but I got a new definition for woo-woo. It's a wanderer's optimism, opening wisdom, optimizing omnificence. And omnificence is the most powerful creation there is. And we've been taught words, and we put up a barrier with words. And it's like if you hear a new word, it's a big word. Well, it's just a new word. And that's the thing about hypnosis. It's new for the person that's trying to do it or the person that wants to do it.
This is a wonderful conversation, learning so much, not only from myself, but I'm sure the audience is taking a lot away from this, Rob. Thank you very much. Now, where did the name Cowboy Wisdom come from? What a great name.
I was a cowboy. I was a real cowboy.
Actually did the work.
Yeah, I actually saddled the horses in the wintertime. We rode the horses. We fed the 750 cows at 30 below zero. And if one needed doctoring, we went out and doctored them. And that's one thing about being on the farm or the ranch. When it's 30 below and snowing, you're still feeding cattle.
You still have to keep things alive and moving forward, don't you, Rob?
And they're all standing there. They was just across the road from the farmhouse. And they was all standing there looking in the picture window, says, let's go.
You know what I love about you? I think you have a wonderful story, and I think story's so undervalued. I know a lot of people do value it, but what do you think about the importance of being able to tell a story in your line of work?
Well, it's not so much the story, Rick, as it's a nowography. You want to tell them how you got to where you're being and to where you're going. And the story is got to be authentic, vulnerable, and you got to show people you can show them a way to have a better life. And that's what I desire to do. I want to show people the way I expanded my life so they can expand without being in the drama of life.
Yeah, there's so much drama.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. Everybody starts telling them everything that went wrong and how they got there. Well, if it wasn't for the farming, the ranching, the oil field, and all the wisdom that was in them, I wouldn't be doing this today. It's the wisdom of your events that expanded you to today.
It's the cumulative effect. Now, I wonder, I have no idea what this is, but what does hypnoacuity mean?
All hypnoacuity is it takes the addiction to therapy out of it. I use acuity instead of therapy because acuity is keenness of vision, listening, and inspiration. When people, I was in hypnotherapy school and this lady says, "You ain't going to do nothing for me. I just come here for the therapy. I'm not going to do nothing." I looked at that and I said, that's just a waste of time. And so that's why the acuity, it diffuses the word therapy, and people ain't coming there to be fixed. They're coming there to expand.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful feedback. Now, in your write-up, you refer to enlightenment. Is that a spelling error, or is it supposed to be enlightenment, or is there a difference here?
It's enlightenment. INLIGHTENMINT. That's the sweetness of the splendor within. And that's my word. I make up my own words.
Yeah, well, why not? Why not? There's no rules about that, is there?
But when you read it and you feel it, you'll feel a release and a sensation to move forward.
Now, I've got a special spot on the show for authors. I love talking to authors because I know, having written a book myself, that it is very much a journey that one has to go through. And I think the process of actually writing helps you to grow personally. Would you agree with that?
Very, very much so. You know, something you hit on that's the greatest question I've ever been asked. You want to, most people write journals to get rid of their stuff. Write it in the book, educate the world, expand the world, and you liberated yourself.
Now, with your business, could you share a little bit about what your vision is? What do you want to achieve? What's going to be your legacy, do you think?
I want to expand people out of their societized way of life into understanding their talents, and their wisdom and their talents is beyond society. And they got to get into the unique mystique of themselves to expand. And we've been taught to live inside of what the education system says.
Oh, yeah.
And the education system's a guide. But people have talent. Like, the inner cities, there's so much talent there that just goes to waste because people categorize them and compare them and do that. And I want to just show people a way they can discover their own talents, and that's my thing.
Now, with your book, your full title is My Wisdom Breathes, My Wisdom Energizes, Energizes Fun. Where did that name come from? What's the basis for it?
My Wisdom Breathes? It would the breath of life takes it out there, but when wisdom breathes, people expand. And the thing about what I discovered in all this, everybody said, "Oh, it's work and it's hard." I said, "No, you got to make whatever it is fun. And you got to be able to laugh at the gaffes." And that's what that means. And my wisdom breathes as I breathe it into the world, but I also breathe it into my life. And when I breathe it into my life, I'm expanding the world.
So when none of us are going to get out of life alive, I'm wondering if that's the case, how do we know, when we're taking things too seriously? Is there a sort of a meter we could read in ourselves, do you think?
Well, when you get stressed out and you start saying, "Oh my God, this has happened to me," when you're stressed out about it doing something, you've taken it too far. And if you think yours is the only way and you're telling everybody how to live and how to do it, you've taken it too far. When you can show people and let them go. And see, that's the thing. I never tell people what to do. I show people the way I expanded my life and the way I did it. If that's for them, that's fine, Rick. And if it isn't for them, that's great too.
So the way you probably work with people is ask more questions and make more statements. Is that right?
Yeah, you're going to question your way to the penthouse. And that's the thing about anybody. You're going to question them with their words to where they want to go. And, something I really discovered in all of this Rick, is you got to appreciate your childhood.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what happened in it, but you got to start by appreciating it. That way you can start letting it dissolve itself. And when you do appreciation, that's the foresight of love and forgiveness.
Well, I was thinking about intuition. A lot of people just, don't value it much. What do you think about intuition? Should you nurture that inner strength, that inner knowledge that, hey, something is wrong, right, or indifferent?
That is your pathway to the promised land. Intuition and imagination. Yeah, your intuition is going to be what really expands you, and it's going to be what makes you the most uncomfortable because it doesn't fit into your society-trained mind.
And I can see why you're talking about this in terms of your childhood, because you talk about being always in that dream state. Is this about not letting go of the child within?
Well, nobody, and what really happened, Rick, is I was guilty of this for me, but I kept hearing my mom. I was in school there, and everybody says, well, my parents did this to me, my parents did that to me, and this. And I says, you're 40 years old. What did your parents have to do with today? And see, that's the thing. No matter what your parents did, you can always remember about your parents. They had their journey together. And like I had two brothers and two sisters besides me.
Mm-hmm.
They had that going on. So they were never going to do everything perfect. And my parents come out of the 30s. So when they come out of the 30s, that was a tough time. And And the question I asked, Rick, this is one of my favorite. If it wouldn't have been for the 1930s, would the United States won World War II?
Yeah, absolutely. What sort of a world would we be living in?
Yes. I mean, but, the universe is unique. It sets up things what you're going through today is actually for an outcome 6 months to 6 years from now.
Yeah, it's amazing feedback. I always think about books and what I'm supposed to get out of reading them. What do you think is going to be found inside your books to help people realize their true talents?
Well, here's the thing about my books, Rick. They're written unpunctuated. They're written in first person. And when I talk about the past, I'm talking about discharge, release, and disconnect and stuff like that. My books are written in first person there isn't a not word in them. And what they are is they take you forward. They never let you go back. They're kind of wrote like in poems and poetry. And so it just keeps you moving forward. And if you're experiencing a bad day, you can open My Wisdom Breeze to any page and read 1 to 2 to 3 pages, and you'll expand out of that. Because it talks about being a trailblazer, a trendsetter.
Mm-hmm.
It's about imagination. Because the imagination is going to lead you to success. But it really talks about just going forward. And the reason I unpunctuated my writings, I started this in 2011. And the reason I unpunctuated them, Rick, is that way there is nothing the subconscious mind or any place on the inner landscape can grab onto anything. Because when you read a book with punctuation, when you see a comma, a period, your subconscious mind becomes part of it. This, you get to discover everything within yourself. You're actually opening up a new way of life.
Yeah.
New way. And there's nothing to latch onto, and you get to discover yourself.
It's just a guide, you can use. Do you use that book, like you tell people to like carry it, or have at least access to a copy of it and just use it as a bit of a daily prompt?
I cheat. I got the audio books.
Ah.
and I got a book called Endless Inspiration, and it has zero. And what these books do is, if you listen to them or read them, it's just gonna expand you out of the mindset that you're in to expand you a better feeling.
Yeah,
that's what they're written for. And it's really written for you to open up to realize how programmed you've been. And this is an unprogramming book.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of us, are institutionalized by society, by the systems that we live in, and that's for sure and certain, Robert. Now, I'm wondering if we could shift focus, given that we're nearing the pointy end of the call. If we could talk about your website, what are people going to find on this site?
They're going to find liberation, inspiration, and wisdom. And what they're going to find on there is how ways to expand their life. They're going to find my books, but they're also going to find a lot of writings that nobody else has seen. And they're also going to learn about smoking cessation, how to quit smoking, pain. I call it pain liberation, but it's pain management. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of success with pain liberation because you touched on it earlier, because pain is as much emotions, guilt, and everything else. Like when you said, but it's the guilt that we feel when something happens, and that when that event something similar happens in our everyday life, Rick, we go through that same thing. And what they're going to find on that website is a way for them to expand out of today to expand of tomorrow. And I got a simple little saying. It's just one sentence for life. I liberate me from me to expand out of my dysfunctional life, to expand up my optimistic foresight.
Yeah, that's wonderful feedback. I tell you, there's going to be a lot of people on this call today, Robert, that are going to want to know more. So what is actually the URL of your website so we can point them there?
It's mycowboywisdom.com.
Fantastic. Well, for everybody who's on the show today, as is customary, I'll be making sure to put that link back to Robert and his wonderful work at mycowboywisdom.com. Robert, what a beautiful conversation. This has just tapped the start of your entire works, and it's been a fantastic journey spending some time with you on the My Future Business show today. Thank you very much.
Well, this has been my honor and privilege, Rick, and thank you for the great conversation. I enjoyed it immensely.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.